yes, we'll turn our attention to what you see, the visit by this PDP splinter group to the National Assembly. Ebonlu Adegborowa joins us this morning. He's a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Good morning, thank you.
Well, you did see so many of the response, even the image as it transpired on the day in the National Assembly. But yes, I'm sure you also have heard those who have said different things. But what's your perspective on that visit first, before we look at the reactions?
Well, you know that the National Assembly is a conglomeration of the representatives of the people of Nigeria. People visit for various reasons. Those who are campaigning for gay rights, those who are campaigning for national conference, those who are campaigning for minimum wage in the exclusive list, those who want to break up their parties, or those who are in another faction. So I believe that the National Assembly premises, being a public domain, it should be accessible to any Nigerian once you go through the normal authority of the National Assembly by informing the leadership. Because, you know, there is a parliamentary immunity that's granted to the assembly officers and their premises for protection under the House Privileges and Immunities Act. You cannot go there without the authority of the leadership. So Baraje and others must have received the consent of the leadership of the National Assembly to embark on such visits. So I do not see anything wrong in any Nigerian of any category whatsoever, or in any political party,
okay, how about the
deciding to visit the National Assembly. But however, my concern is the status of that visitation. Because you know that immediately after the problem broke out at Eagle Square, the matter then got into the judiciary. In other words, the case is in court. Yeah. Somebody is contesting against the new leadership. The other leadership is affirming his power. The court is here to determine, one way or the other, whether the new faction is legitimate, whether the old one will still continue in office. Until that decision is taken, it will be improper to give status or for the National Assembly to seem to encourage that visitation in that status as a factional leader. But as a Nigerian, it will have been proper and okay.
When the court said maintain status quo ante, what did it mean? Because lots of people are confused now. Because, I mean, you see police saying, no, it said maintain status quo, you cannot put up this. And the other group says, no, there's nothing wrong in running to office while we wait for the court to come up with that decision. And it all keeps going back and forth.
Well, in law for us, to maintain status quo means you will keep the situation in suspense. You will keep the situation in equilibrium prior to the commencement of hostilities. The way the matter was before hostilities commenced. Hostility commenced on the day of the convention at Eagle Square. So if anybody goes to court and say, I want an injunction restraining the faction from parading itself as leaders of PDP, and the judge says, maintain the status quo, lawyers would then go back and say, what kind of status quo are you talking? Status quo pendente lite. That is, before the suit was filed. Status quo ante bellum, before the commencement of hostilities. Status quo post the case itself. So when you just give a blanket directive and say maintain status quo, it then throws everybody into confusion. It was the responsibility of his lordship, with respect, who had the opportunity to preside over that case, to give proper interpretation and directive as to what kind of status quo you want to maintain.
I think some said, was it status quo antebellum?
It should have been to say, just maintain the status quo antebellum. But if there is an application for injunction by any of the parties, and an order was given to maintain status quo, it will be in favor of the party that is applying for the injunction. Because there's a reason why you want to get injunction, to restrain something from taking place. If I say, don't parade yourself as a factional leader of PDP, and I've asked for an injunction to restrain you as such, and you have filed your defense, and we get to court and the judge says, I'm not ready to listen to the parties. I just want law and order. I want peace to reign. Maintain status quo. It will be in favor of the person asking for the injunction.
But going to the National Assembly and still seeking the prayers that were in court, seeking the removal of the chairman, saying, look, get back. I mean, part of the demands, I do believe, It's part of what the court is supposed to determine. Does it mean that, look, they can't have lost faith in the court and whatever the court may decide will just be on the side?
First of all, which was why I made the point, this matter is related only to one political party, People's Democratic Party. The National Assembly is constituted from representatives of other political parties. Action Congress, now APC, APGA, CPC, and so many other political parties. Such recognition or reception should not have been elevated to the status of an official visit by the leadership of the National Assembly. And I think that's where this issue of discretion comes to play. Because we know that this same delegation also visited the Senate, and there was no crisis on it. Because it was well managed in the sense that it was not elevated to an official visitation, such as would necessitate reading letters on the floor of the House. It was a matter of indiscretion, I say with all respect, to the Speaker of the House of Representatives in the manner he managed the visitation. There's no problem in anybody visiting the National Assembly. It's the capacity, the status you give to such visitation that will invite either opposition or support. And particularly that the matter was pending in court, greater wisdom would have required that that attention should not be an official delegation. You could have attended to them in any other capacity.
So since we now know that it's strictly a PDP affair, shouldn't they have gone to their national secretariat instead of coming to the assembly?
As a matter of fact, I thought that what will have happened would be that after the sessions, not an official thing, you would probably call the caucus of his own political party, because you don't need to involve APC members and CWC members in the visitation of members of your own party, because it's an abuse of office for the Speaker of the House of Representatives, who is presiding over all political parties, to turn the internal crisis of your own political party to disrupt the proceedings. Because the effect of this is that nothing could be done, which has then affected the business of the day, to the extent that it's affecting me, it's affecting you, it's affecting other political parties. That's why I say it's a matter of indiscretion. It should not have been elevated to that, and it was an abuse of office.
But then you also talked about how, people have rights to visit the National Assembly, and everybody should, be able to visit the National Assembly. They're visiting the National Assembly, not the PDP caucus in the National Assembly. It seemed like it was when there was an uproar in the chambers, that was when he now tempered it down to say this affects only the PDP caucus. But naturally, if the Baraje faction wanted to visit members of the National Assembly, was there anything wrong in saying that members of APC could not attend, for instance?
Well, the point that I make, which I still concede to your reminder, is that being a public forum, any Nigerian, market women, journalists, activists, can visit the National Assembly. The point I make is that the status you give to such visitation, if I get up today and write a letter to the Speaker of the House of Representatives that I, Ebola Deborah, I want to visit you as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I have made a declaration in my chambers that I am now the President. I don't recognize Governor Goodluck Jonathan.
President.
Yeah, I'm sorry, President Goodluck Jonathan. And you recognize and read that letter for that in that status, you have incurred a lot of problem. But you can ask me to come and attend to me in whatever status I call myself, but you don't give your own legislative imprimatur. You will not give your own legislative approval to whatever description I give to myself. But you have not isolated me as a Nigerian, because you are our father. Being the Speaker of the House of Representatives, you will give me audience. I will talk. I will say whatever I want, and then I will leave the place. But the point that I'm making is that it needed not to have been elevated to the floor of the House, where such letters will be read in that status of the new PDP. But like you said, they have a right to visit the National Assembly, and I don't think anybody could have stopped them. But in matters like this, when you receive such letter, the National Assembly should refer to its legal committee and seek for advice, because that's the reason why they have lawyers who will advise them. And the lawyers, if they got such invitation, will have given a word of caution that the matter is sub judice. Neither Tuko nor Baraje, in the status in which they are coming to address the issue of factional governors, who is having control of the party, you probably not give such audience in that capacity.